in the late 90s, Opel had the super hot hatch to beat. That was the 2-litre 16-valve double overhead cam Superboss. Now what many people don't know is that also in their stable they had a smaller, less powerful version, the 2-litre 8-valve single overhead cam Baby Boss. Both cars had stupid amounts of power and torque steer for days. Now what Mercedes-Benz has done here with the A35 is pretty much the same thing, without the torque steer. The A35 came about because Mercedes-Benz was able to develop this car in conjunction with its big fire-snorting brother, the A45. What's interesting to note is that the A35 now is better in every way than what the previous generation A45 was. And what that means is you're essentially getting a car that's nuttier than a lunch bar. The A35 then is an A-Class that has been slammed to the ground on a set of 19-inch wheels. They've then added a very aggressive looking aero package, so there's a front splitter up front on the bumper with the little winglets, a nice set of side skirts, a very aggressive looking rear diffuser, and of course that unmistakable roof spoiler. They've then draped the entire thing in what I can only refer to as traffic fine yellow, and what you get is a car that sticks out like a pimple on date night. Now look, don't get me wrong, it definitely rustles the jimmies, but it's a bit much. Now the interior is a pretty special place too. It's a little bit dark and somber because basically everything is covered with black leather. Black leather sports seats, leather on the dash, lower dash, door cards. You know, there's hints of brushed aluminium and piano black. It's all very upmarket. As far as electronic gadgets and gizmos go, this car is fully laden. There's customizable ambient lighting, and then the center console, which is one giant piece of glass, but actually houses two separate screens. The one over here is for the infotainment, vehicle settings, you know, all of that stuff. But this one in the center here, this is the driver's cockpit, really. This screen is actually three-dimensional. It sort of, everything sort of recedes into the back. The displays are all animated, and that just screams, play with me. As far as the infotainment goes, that houses the MBUX infotainment center with the My Mercedes virtual assistant.
What can I do for you?
There she is. Cancel. And then, of course, all of the vehicle settings, the dynamic driving modes, and which we will get to in a few seconds, are really, the animations on the screen are really something you have to see and play with. Now I would be remiss if I did not talk about this steering wheel. As I said, it's covered in black leather, but it also has these Alcantara inserts on the side here where your hands would be when you're spiritedly driving. It has the brushed aluminium T with the flappy pedals for when you want to be manual. And then it has these two buttons on either side of the T. The one is to activate the drive mode, so you get Comfort, Sports, Sports Plus, Individual. And the button on the other side is so that you can actually set up your suspension, which is something we're going to get to in just a few. So the interior means business, the exterior means business, but all the business is actually underneath the bonnet. The A35 is powered by a 2-litre 4-cylinder turbo petrol engine. It's going to make a mind-numbing 225 kilowatts and 400 Newton meters. Lunch bar. Now all of that power would be nothing if it wasn't for the 4MATIC system, which actually puts that power down to the ground through a 7-speed DCT transmission. When you take the 4MATIC system, the power, and the adaptive suspension, This car just handles like nothing else I've driven. You can go into a corner way too hot, turn it in, and it sticks to the road. It feels like one of those old cartoons where you put your foot down and then the road sort of ribbons up behind the car or tears off the surfaces as they're going around corners. That's what it feels like. Now, I only really have two niggles with the A35. And the first one is that while you're piloting this car, with all of the electronic gizmos and gadgets in the background, taking care of everything, if you jam your foot down and this thing takes off towards the horizon, it leaves you feeling kind of empty. You could call me old school, but when I drive a car, I want to feel engaged. I want to feel like I'm part of something. The A35 and all its systems are so good, you actually, there's no feedback. You don't feel like you're driving. It makes you feel invincible. You could just basically point it in a direction, jam your foot down, and off it goes. The other niggle I have with the A35 is, of course, the price bracket that it's playing in. If you take into consideration that this car costs 850,000 Rand, base, no options, it sort of puts it outside the wheelhouse of most of the people who would actually want one of these. I mean, its two closest competitors are the Audi S3 and Golf R. And the S3 comes in at 772,000 and the Golf R at 727. That makes the A35 well over 100,000 Rand more expensive than its two closest rivals. And that's a tough sell. So the A35 then, what a package. Looks the part, sounds the part, has performance in spades and goes like stink. I mean, if the A35 is this nutty, what's the A45 like?
Search Auto Trader.